Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining this session. My name is Elaine Primrose. I am Head of Sales for our Dynamics division within Kick, which is a division who look after all of the customers on this call who are using NAV or Business Central. I'm joined by Rob Jackson, who's a Senior Technical Account Manager with our partner Insightsoftware. And in this 30-minute introduction session, Rob will be walking us through JET reports and how this greatly improves financial and operational reporting. We wanted to hold this session this morning as JET reports is the most popular add-on that our customers use with NAV and Business Central. And customers using JET reports tell us this saves them a great deal of time and with reporting, along with providing key insights into their data. So I'm sure you'll find this session very informative, and I shall now hand over to Rob to take us through JET reports. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you very much, Alice, and welcome everybody to today's presentation. So we're just going to go through a quick introduction to Insightsoftware and also, of course, JET reports, and just having a look at some of the core things. First of all, about how we get JET reports connected to our data source. So that can either be NAV or Business Central, doesn't matter whether it's on-premise or in the public cloud. I'll show you an example of how JET reports gets access to all of the tables and fields inside the ERP. We'll speak about report migration. So if you're working with NAV at the moment and you're considering in the future migrating to Business Central, then that would be relevant for you. And also we'll just take a look at an example and a demo of the scheduling and distribution of the reports as well. So Insightsoftware is a global organization. JET reports is one of the software products, but there's a lot of other solutions, software solutions for the office of the CFO. Something worth mentioning is that there are about 17,000 customers globally of JET products, and that represents a product which is identified as a flagship product for Insightsoftware going forwards. Just a brief overview of the products from Insightsoftware, and you can see there's several kind of vertical stacks here, really all finance focused, and the products that we are offering, if you like, into the Dynamics market is JET reports, which we're looking at today, JET Analytics, which is a business intelligence data warehouse automation platform. This basically gets customers up and running much faster with Power BI, and also BizView, which is a budgeting, planning and forecasting software as well. So please, of course, let Kick know if you're interested as well in those other areas. So first things first, right, what is JET reports? JET reports is an advanced reporting tool which is built directly inside Microsoft Excel. We've extended the functions of Excel, and our new JET functions are designed to pull data directly into a spreadsheet from the live data source, which is your live operational data in NAV or Business Central. Because we're pulling data into Excel rather than exporting it from the ERP and pushing it to Excel, we're able to format all of the reports exactly in the way that we want, and we can combine the JET functions that pull the information together with standard Excel information and functions. All of the designing of our reports are done with wizards and drag and drop tools, so it eliminates any kind of hard coding or programming expertise. And as mentioned, and I'll touch on this in a second, we can take our reports with us when we upgrade to the next version of Dynamics. So at its core, the way that JET is working is that we have a function wizard where we've got helpers like this that allow you to fill out the parameters, and this translates into an Excel-like formula. It looks and behaves pretty much the same as an Excel formula. And when we run a JET report, we query the data source, and then the results are put straight back into the spreadsheet, and that's live refresh data every single time that a report is executed and run. We have different users of JET reports, so the product is licensed on a per user basis, and a user can be a designer. So that's someone that can actually put together a Jet report and actually put together the definitions of the reports. We have viewers, excuse me, which are users that can run and refresh an existing report, and that person may well be able to add date filters or salesperson filters, however the report has been built. But of course, it's important that reports that you run, you're able to send outside of your organization to somebody that just has Excel. So it's possible to open up an Excel file that was created with Jet reports without actually having the add-in installed. One really important thing is actually the adapters that we have that connect Jet to the actual data source itself. This is showing two apps that we have on AppSource, both for Jet reports and Jet Analytics. But it's really important to note that our adapters immediately give you access to any table and any field in the database throughout the entire database. So this dynamically builds up a library or a dictionary of tables and fields. So if, for example, Kick install for you like a custom field or a custom table, that type of thing, then that will always show up in Jet reports, regardless of whether you're connected to an on-prem database or whether you're connected to a public cloud instance of Business Central. And every time that a report is run, we are respecting the permissions that the user has inside the ERP. So it means that you can only report on information that you've got access to. So it's very, very light touch. So we actually use the ERP security model. There isn't a separate security model that customers have to implement specifically for Jet reports, as well as having to maintain the ERP security. So because the differences in the connectors, so we always maintain our connectors or our adapters to the ERP to make sure that the adapters themselves understand the difference between NAV or with Dynamics to Dynamics Business Central. So the actual formulas that we use excuse me, in the reports are very consistent, and this allows us to basically take the reports with us when you upgrade ERP. So that can really eliminate a large amount of work. I've been through myself ERP upgrades. It can be quite a stressful process as it is. There's a lot of work to do, but it means that because you can take your familiar reports with you, simply point the report at the new data source and you can run and execute it. So long as the tables are the same on both sides, which typically the database itself hasn't really changed too much between NAV and Business Central, then that can eliminate an awful lot of work in your upgrade process. And we continue to make sure that the adapters are compliant with the new releases that Microsoft are making. It's important, of course, that you're able to automate the scheduling and the distribution of your reports. Jet has got a powerful scheduler built in. We are able to run batch scheduling. So it could be that you've got the same report that you want to cycle through many times, maybe once per salesperson. So you're distributing a report to each salesperson with what the sales are for the customers that belong to them. We can output reports as standard Excel files or PDFs, HTML files or CSV files, for example. We've got the ability, I think you could hopefully probably see here that there's actually some content inside the email body, which comes from a calculation inside the report itself. So we can actually expose information from the report itself to the scheduler. You don't actually even have to attach the report if you don't want. And you're able as well to send reports out based on a specific business condition being met. So you can have a report scheduler running in the background and just sending out, for example, exception reports and that type of thing. So they're the topics I'm going to be focusing on. There's lots more to show and tell about Jet, but they're the ones that I've chosen to focus on today. So we'll go into a product demo. So I'm just here in a blank Excel spreadsheet. This is when the live demo starts, so there's obviously the potential for things to go wrong, so bear with me. But basically at the top here we've got a Jet ribbon. So this looks and feels like it's really part of Excel, and in the settings we've got our data source, and inside that data source I've got two Business Central companies up and running here. The way that we set up connections is made here in data source settings. So the first topic I said that we were going to go through is how we actually get connected. So we will basically add a new one of these connectors, and then we fill out the parameters that we need as to where the server is, where the database is, and we just choose a default company, for example. So this is really a one-time setup. We've got ways in which you can share these data sources between multiple machines, so you don't have to repeat the same processes again and again. I'm just going to show you an example of how we can get connected to Business Central Public Cloud and how we would set up a new connection. So I would choose Dynamics 365 Business Central, and I would choose Web Services Public Cloud. So in Microsoft's public cloud version of Business Central, we don't get direct access to the actual SQL database itself. So we have to connect through web services. So on the previous slide, I showed you an example of the extensions that we have freely available in AppSource, and it is necessary to install the extension, and this is really the endpoint that we're connecting to with Jet Report. So there's kind of two halves, if you like, to the connection. With public cloud, the nice thing about this is that because I've signed in via Microsoft authentication, on the web service tab, all of this information is basically pulled from Azure Active Directory. So this is my tenant ID. We already default the name of the Jet data source, and the company is available here. So all of this information is kind of filled in for you, and really that is now basically ready to use. In terms of the tools that we've got inside Jet, I'm going to build a very basic report here. I'm just going to make a list of some fields that I might want to include from my customer table. In this particular instance of Business Central, I have an extension where I've actually added an extended field to the customer table, and I've got fields. I mean, we get access to every single field, and of course this can be quite a lot. So we have a feature where you can add like a favorite next to the fields that you use regularly, and then I can simply reduce that list down, and those favorites are available in different areas of the application. So what I've got here is just a selection of fields. The drag and drop output here is set to rows and records. So the idea is I'm going to make a very basic list report in Excel. Now I can hold my control key down and select the field in the order that I want them to be displayed in the report. So I might want the customer number first, the name, let's say the city, then the custom reward type, and then sales LCY. So incidentally, sales LCY is a flow field in the ERP. So it's not actually a physical field that exists on the actual database table itself. Sales LCY is made up of all of the ledger or the customer ledger entry transactions that sit behind in a detailed transaction table, but we can use these flow fields just like they're regular fields. So you don't need to know that, but if you understand flow fields, then that might make a bit of sense to you. And I can just simply drag those across. Now, this custom reward type field is a custom field, so you can see that's got the number of 50,001. Anything 50,000 and above is in the like the customer range of extensions that have been made on Business Central, but I can pull this field out just like it's a regular field. The way that Jet reports work is that everything in row 1 and column A is reserved space for keywords. One of the most important is the fit keyword, because we don't know how wide this information is going to be until after we've retrieved it from the database. So what the fit keyword does is prompt the resizing of all of these columns such that the information fits in the cells properly. In terms of any design tools, we're basically using your familiar Excel tool. So we don't have design tools ourselves. We're just here straight in Excel. So we can obviously color things, make it bold, make it bigger, and we can obviously include logos or anything else like that in the actual spreadsheet. Numerical values, you can format according to what your requirements are. And then once I'm ready, and it's really, this is our formula, which is NL rows. So this is our JET specific formula that I could have built manually with one of these wizards. But this formula is going to prompt the insertion of one row for every single customer in this direction in my spreadsheet. So this is a very simple report. It's ready to run, and you can see there that I've got the information here very quickly from from my source system. Okay. Now, whilst it's good to show you quickly where we can get to, with just a few clicks, one of the most common uses, if you like, of JET reports is financial reporting. And what I've got here is a report which is pre-built, which is an income statement report. So I'll just go into the design mode first, just to explain a few pieces about this report. And in this instance, I've actually, instead of dynamically producing the rows and the revenue and the cost of goods sold and the income statement fields, I've actually chosen to make these static fields. But the functions which sit here, so I have a GL function which is designed to get the balance of the actual movement of my GL account. And you'll see that if I hit the key F2, this looks and operates exactly the same as a standard Excel formula. So what this formula is basically asking for is, what is the balance of this account number, or it could be a range of account numbers, between this starting date and this ending date. And then also it's filtered by the company name, which is up here in the top of the workbook. The formula behind the company name is actually going to generate one sheet for me for every company that I've got in the database. So this is actually a multi-company report. So with JET, you're able to run a single report based on multiple companies that are inside your ERP. That is something that you can't actually do with the standard reports that are built in. So when you log into a specific company, you can only ever run a report based on data inside that company. So if you want to add up the results from two companies together, you've got to run two separate reports, get the data out of the ERP, and you've got to then combine that information offline somewhere. Okay, Microsoft don't actually provide any reporting capabilities for combining information from multiple companies. So if you've got more than one entity that you need to report against, then JET is certainly very helpful in those circumstances. So rather than in this case generating rows dynamically, I'm actually generating columns dynamically. So this set of 5 columns here is going to be repeated across the page for however many months that I choose when I run the report. And this makes the layout of the report extremely flexible. Some of the reports that you get in the ERP are very much predefined in the amount of columns that you have available. And I've also incorporated into this report some standard Excel functionality. So conditional formatting. So in the expenses section, if we're 5% over budget, I'm going to get myself a exclamation mark. And also I've incorporated the standard Excel grouping inside this report as well. So if I go ahead and run, I've got the ability just to add here a date range. So I'm going to choose a range, for example, of 3 months. And this will tell JET that I'm going to require 3 sets of columns for my actuals and budgets coming across the page. And I'm going to leave the company filter with a star, because this will basically run a tab in Excel for every company that it finds in the database. And again, if another company was added later on, then I would have got 3 tabs, for example. But you can see here that I've got a income statement for my UK company, an income statement for the USA company on separate tabs. What I could do as well is do some calculations on a further sheet to make a consolidation. So with the grouping switched on, JET works well in combination with this, which is a standard Excel feature. This allows me to expand, so rather than just seeing actuals, I can see my budget, the variance, and these are standard Excel formulas in combination. So this is really doing what is the actual minus the budget. So we're using standard Excel formulas in combination with JET formulas as well. And then we're doing a similar thing here with the variance. If I expand the rows such that I get a lot more detailed information, I can see, for example, all the individual rows. So I can, make this report bigger and smaller, according to whatever my needs are. And if I want to see information inside the ERP, what actually makes up this number of retail sales that I made in January 2021, I've got a drill down button here that I can use. This launches the ERP. This works with the role tailored client, it works with the web client, and I can actually see the transactions that make up the number behind. So you can see automatically here the posting date range, the general ledger account range has been included here automatically. And of course, then once I'm here, I can use standard Business Central functionality to navigate back to the source document. This is really where the real information lives behind that general ledger entry. General ledger entries themselves are, they don't really tell you too much context about, what this actually relates to. So particularly, for example, if you're investigating expenses, if you're over budget, then it's a nice way to for the finance manager to navigate to the ERP and go and find out where any variances came from. One thing I missed out, incidentally, I had another tab here open. We've got a comprehensive knowledge base. So this helps you, for example, with topics like configuration. So where I was making a connection to the database, for example, if I went to Business Central, let's say this time that I've got an on-prem database and I want to be able to connect with a direct SQL, then we've got like a walkthrough of all of the topics in order to get JET, for example, connected. But we've also got available on the support articles lots of videos, tutorials. We've also got about 100 pre-built reports that work with JET products, and you can download those directly from the website. So there's a whole library of reports that you can use to get yourselves up and running quickly. And just finally, just to show you, I'm trying to fit a lot into this presentation, but if I just close this report, I've got another version of that same report connected to a schedule. So if I come into JET and just open up the scheduler, I'll be presented here with a window. And if I just trigger manually this report and just press run now, and then I can just edit and just have a look at the definition of this this job. This can either be scheduled to run either on demand, just like I've done here, or it can be scheduled to run on a frequency, so daily, weekly, monthly, for example. And then in the email section, I can choose like an email recipient, my subject and my body, or I can pass, like I showed you, like a named range from Excel. So content from the report would actually arrive in here. So I've just received an email. You can check the time of it if you really want to make sure that this is absolutely accurate. So my clock is saying 11:24 at the moment. And sure enough, there's an email at 11:24 with the same income statement attached with the the same Excel functionality. If I open the report, so that is now refresh data against the live ERP, and I've got the ability, okay, I need to enable this just to enable the ability to open up all of this information. And the way that we can share this report out to people outside of the organization, once a JET report has run, we are in report run mode rather than design mode. So rather than in the ribbon here, the JET formula showing, this is just showing the numerical value. So this is what allows an external party to just open up a JET report in Excel without having JET actually installed themselves. So you can send reports out to auditors, accountants, and that type of thing, and they can open up the reports themselves. Okay, so I do a lot of talking, but I want to make sure that we've got an opportunity for some questions. So hopefully we've had some questions come into the chat, and we can just pause for a few minutes just to field any questions that we've had come in.
So yes, Rob, there's a few questions that have come in.
Okay.
So maybe we can just go over these just now. So one of the questions, can you schedule for the reports to be sent to anyone, or do they need to be set up in JET?
Yeah, so I mean, the email address that you put into the actual Jet scheduler could be an individual, or it could be, for example, a distribution group. So Jet doesn't really know whether that is a Jet user. It's just an email recipient. So anybody can receive a report. If you receive a report and you want the ability to refresh the report, like I've shown you where I put in like the 3-month date range, for example, then you need to be at least a Jet viewer in order to be able to refresh a report. But just to receive by email a Jet report and just to open up and look at the output, no, you could be any recipient as long as you've got Excel.
Great, super. Okay, and we have one. If I open a report as a viewer, will it already be updated or only when I click run?
So when reports are distributed, typically the report would have been run once in advance. But yeah, I mean, the idea is that a viewer would typically, so when you first open the report, it would have some numbers inside of that. But then, you would run the report and you would have a connection yourself to the actual data source. So you can refresh, but every single time you're running a Jet report, you're pulling fresh data from the ERP. So it's pretty much live reporting. So again, for financial controllers, it's a critical tool, because if you're closing your monthly income statement, for example, as soon as you've posted a journal entry in the ERP, you can just run and refresh your Jet report, and then those results will be there immediately. There's no kind of waiting for any report model or data model to be updated. So, but typically speaking, if you are a viewer, you would receive the report as it is in the first instance, but then just continue to refresh that, according to whatever your requirements were, or you could schedule.
Okay, great, super, thank you. And is the currency pulled from NAV or formatted in Excel?
Yeah, so where I showed that, if I just step back if I've still got the report that I did here, you may well have noticed or not, but what I did there was actually format this according to Excel. So I actually put the currency format here myself. In the actual database, any kind of numerical information like this is just stored as a decimal value. So you would just format that as required in Excel. If you were dealing with multiple currencies and you wanted to get really, really smart, then I suppose you could do some conditional logic in Excel. I guess you could pull the currency field from general ledger setup into the spreadsheet somewhere, and then say, well, if it's GBP, then display a pound sign or something like that. I mean, I suppose you could get smart with that, but most people just choose a currency for formatting as they want to see the information in Excel.
Okay, great, super, thanks, Rob. And just a couple more coming through. In terms of accessing the Jet support website and Insightsoftware site to access templates, etc., do we need to request profiles to be set up, is someone's question?
Right, if you go, okay, so if you just simply, sorry, my Zoom thing is in the way. I'm just waiting for it to move out of the way, and it won't. Okay, so the site that I showed you here, let me just go back to Google. If you Google Jet reports, sample reports, then you'll be taken to a website here where you can filter, for example, the financial system, NAV Business Central, for example, and then this will filter out all of the standard reports that we've got. If you download the reports from here, I think it asks you to fill out a form with your details. However, if you Google getting started with Jet reports, and then you come to here, which is the page that I showed you previously. If you come to pre-built reports here, you can actually download the entire zip file from here, and you don't actually have to fill out any information from there. So that's a kind of shortcut, and you'd receive in that zip file the entire library of about 100 reports.
Fantastic, and we can help anyone with that as well, if as a follow-up from this session, from a Kick perspective in our team. So if anyone wants to reach out on that, then we'll happily take you through that. Okay, so that, I'm sure everyone found that extremely useful. Very quick half hour. So we thought it was also worth just letting everyone know that there is some promotions on that are available until the 20th of December for JET reports. So there's some 10% off JET reports and analytics foundation packages, which is a package that can get anyone started, that includes connectors and a designer license and 5 years of the system, as well as 15% off additional designers and viewers and connectors. So if anyone is interested or has any questions or interested in that promotion, then for anything at all, please just get in contact with your Kick account manager for any more details, and those are the email addresses. Hopefully everyone on the call knows who their account manager is, and they are our details on the screen there. So we'd just like to say thanks, Rob. That was excellent, especially all of those drill down functionalities that you can get from reporting as well. Very impressive. And thanks for your time, everyone. And please get in touch.